took me a little while to figure out exactly what I wanted to talk about today in this screencast here, but essentially what I decided to go for was MySQL management, and that is, of course, the tools you can use to access your database and manipulate your databases, really all of MySQL as a whole, your installation. So probably my favorite, okay, would be phpMyAdmin. Okay, this is a web applet that would be running with your server that hosts your MySQL installation. In this class so far, most of us are using Workbench and some other tools to actually accomplish this. A lot of most people in conversation about Workbench versus phpMyAdmin would only highlight the schema and data visualization of Workbench and manipulating offline databases. However, this is no longer the case since phpMyAdmin does have a designer view. So that really makes phpMyAdmin, in my opinion, pretty much the all-in-one tool, and certainly the better choice. As long as you don't really do too much offline management. So these are, I tried to do some research on this EBSCO host. I mean, I really looked for some things that I could talk about in here, but really the only thing I'm coming up with is some guides on phpMyAdmin, which are pretty cool. I've skimmed through quite a few of them. This being the most recent one for the newer version. So definitely a good read if you want to kind of learn phpMyAdmin in depth. But like I said, there's a lot of talk about it. You can find all kinds of conversations about which way to go, and actually here's a reference to the designer view that is now accessed. Here is phpMyAdmin running on a virtual private server of mine, managing a MySQL installation. Here's the current database we've been working with, and you could see all of that fun stuff, and also that designer view that I was referencing as well. So you definitely all in one. You can create relationships from here, and also from the table itself. Another cool thing worth mentioning in MySQL, a lot of people may not really know. For example, here's a table I've been working with. In a lot of cases, database rather, you may have IDs, your primary keys for each table, and it may vary from table to table throughout the same database. You're always going to usually have something like this, and typically I reference those using a neat little shortcut called row ID, which is really more of an Oracle and other database concept. It's not really something that's used in MySQL, but it's something that can be referenced. For example, I might say select everything from the changelog where the row ID equals 4. Okay, and when we run that, we're actually going to get the log ID. We don't have to say log ID or whatever it is, as long as it is a single integer column. You're going to be able to use that. And this isn't just for phpMyAdmin. That's MySQL as a whole. Just a little caveat I figured I'd mention there, just in talking about database management. A lot of people don't really know that you can do that. It's a neat little feature. But outside of that, phpMyAdmin is a PHP application for managing your database in a web setting, and definitely has pretty much all of the features that you would have. in pretty much any other local installation, local client, as far as creating databases and your users and everything. You've got a strong management setting here, and it's a pretty much one-stop shop. All my tools are in here, and I've never really had to use anything else for anything to do with databases. And that's my pitch.